Welcome back to another episode of the Higher Ed Podcast. I'm your host, Kamar D. Jarnett, flying solo today. Got a terrific guest for you, Mr. Tony Cruz. Really glad that you were, what I say, excited about joining us. Everything went
Oh
kind of
yeah,
smooth, and I'd love
yeah.
for you to introduce yourself to our audience if you could.
Oh, thank you so much, Mark. So, Tony Cruz, I currently serve as the campus president at the Kendall campus of Miami-Dade College. Been here now at Miami-Dade College for about 4 years, in higher ed in general, over 27 years, and working at 4-year, and in the last 15 years or so, working at 2-year colleges. And so, Miami-Dade College, as many people know throughout the country, I mean, maybe they don't, but I'll just say it anyway, is one of the largest and most diverse community colleges or 2-year colleges in the entire
Wow.
country. And so I've been very fortunate to work here first as the campus president at the Hialeah campus, and now at our Kendall campus, which is one of the 8 campuses of the college and the largest of the 8. So really great to be with you today. Really, thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. So, the 27 years, I'm curious, why are you so passionate about higher ed?
Well, I think every time that I walk onto the campus, it makes me passionate about what I do. The way I, engaging with our students, seeing our students on campus. The great thing about higher ed is, which I think is a little bit different from other industries, is that we see students develop, evolve as individuals when they come onto our campus. They not just learn in the classroom, but outside the classroom. And I get to see that on a daily basis. We're going to have our commencement just in a couple of weeks now. Always the best time of year when we see those students that have worked so hard throughout the last few years now going across that stage and getting their diplomas. So I think that's what I live for, seeing those students come across, but also that developmental, development that they have across those few years. And then we get a whole bunch of new students, right? Every fall and every spring, and even sometimes summers, we get whole new students that come onto our campus. And that's what keeps me going. So even 27 years later, it feels like the first day because I see smiling faces. I see great people. I get to interact with our faculty and staff on campus. All that gives me a lot of energy to keep going to the next day. So that's what keeps me going, I guess, after 27 years.
Got it. I'm curious, is there anything, as we come out of the pandemic that's kind of reinvigorated your passion, your drive in higher ed with all the innovation and changes that we just went through over the past 2.5, 3 years?
Well, definitely it made us revisit a lot of the processes and things that we had put in place prior to the pandemic. Going virtual, I think, did a lot of that, right? And so as a college, we had to adjust, and our faculty did an amazing job of offering more classes virtually, thinking about new teaching modalities that adjust to the needs of students. And even as we've come away from the pandemic, a lot of those modalities are still in place. I think our students are still attracted to learning virtually, not all the time, but maybe they'll take 1 or 2 classes virtually. I think it gives them much more flexibility. I think in addition to that, what helped me was trying to reach out to the community and how I would do that. And I've done a lot more with social media than I've ever done before, because I think that's the only way that we could really communicate with individuals, especially when our campuses were closed for an extended period of time and we didn't have students on campus. That was the only way to get the students, to faculty and staff, and keep people motivated. And so I've continued to work with that as a tool to really to do more community outreach, and to really community outreach outside of the college. But in addition to that, how do we reach out to our students, our faculty and staff, and keep them motivated on a daily basis? And I'm not saying it's just me, it's our team, it's what we're doing. We're more cognizant of the fact that that's the way that our students are communicating and the way that they're obtaining their information about the college and about the world around them.
Got it. Got it. So I'm curious, how do you think about, college readiness? I know that's something that you're really passionate about.
I'm really passionate about it. I've been working in, like I said, higher ed for 27 years, but in the community college space for about 15 years, and I see that a lot of the students come to us, and we, as community colleges, we are open access and we accept all students and we meet students where they are. So students come to us with different levels of preparation. And unfortunately, there are many students that come to us that did not get the level of preparation and were not college ready, and we help them get there. But I'd like to see how we could do more in the community, and this is nationwide, how we can do more with all communities and trying to make sure that individuals understand, students, parents understand what classes students need to be taking in high school to really be prepared for college. When should they really start preparing to take the SAT or ACT? What is a good time to do that? When they should start the application process? But all that starts very early, and even I probably starts at some time during middle school. And so as a college, we're doing a lot more outreach when it comes to our middle schools and making sure we're making those connections early. So when students transition to high school, they already have an idea of what kinds of classes they need to be taking and what type of preparation they need to be making in order to be ready for college. As we know, that's a big step for all students when they go from high school to college. And we know that as well. And so college readiness is one of those things that I think we all have to be involved in. Obviously, that's the responsibility of our K through 12 system, as well as our college system and universities across the country.
Have you seen K through 12 become more, I guess, open to the college readiness process?
Oh, I think so. I think that they have, in over the last several years, and even before the pandemic, I saw that K through 12, particularly the high schools in particular, are much more cognizant of students being college ready, and also the number of students or the percentage of students that actually attend high school. I think that's something that they're really focusing on and making much more a priority as they prepare students. But with all schools, and we know that there are limited budgets, there are limited resources. It's really important. Most schools have one or two, maybe if they're lucky, one or two advisors that help, college advisors that help students through this, guide them through this path. So it takes more than that. It takes a village, right? It takes all of us to kind of do that type of outreach to all our communities and make sure that they understand and have a better understanding of that, and not just relying on one individual or two individuals at the school, at the high school level. I know it's a big burden on them, and it's really not fair. So I think that we have to do much more when it comes to all of us. We need to outreach, the colleges need to do that, and universities have to do more outreach to the high schools and the middle schools, and we need to do more collaboration. And that's one thing that here at the college we're doing a lot of with our school district here, Miami-Dade College, the Miami-Dade County School District is doing a lot of training with, even today as we speak, right in this building where I am right now, we have over 50 of these college advisors from the high schools that are getting trained by the county school system. And a lot of that has to do information that we're providing on things like financial aid and the admissions process and other things that they can convey to their students so they're prepared for high school, for college as they transition from high school.
Sure. Now, what role does college readiness play in, I guess, the drive or the need to increase college going and even the completion rates for students of color?
Well, that's a really big deal. And I'll tell you that I've had the good fortune of talking to individuals from across the country, and this is something that's impacting all communities, particularly communities of color, and we're focusing more on Hispanic and Black populations throughout the country. We've seen before the pandemic, we were seeing some growth, right, in college going rates for Black and Hispanic students throughout the country. The pandemic has set us back a bit. Okay, so, and that's not good. It's not good for those individuals, but it's also not good for society as a whole. And as we know, today more than ever, college is extremely important for individuals to be able to get the right jobs and be an active part of the workforce eventually, right? And so as we see a particular growth in Hispanic population in the country, right now, 28% of all K through 12 students throughout the country are Hispanic, 15% are Black. So that's 43% of the population. that will eventually become adults, right? And be part of the workforce. And so I see it as almost a crisis. Like if we don't increase college going rates, if we don't increase completion rates, we're going to have an issue where we're going to have millions of individuals who are, part of our society that are going to be part of the workforce, but are not going to have the skills necessary to really have, be ready for those jobs of the future. And so it's extremely important for all of us to emphasize the importance of increasing that college going rate for all students, but particularly for those students of color. And in addition to that, to be able to then provide the resources at our colleges and universities to help them, to retain them, and then to help them persist and actually get that degree that they're seeking. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, some college is good, but we need students to finish those degrees, those credentials, so they're able to then go into the workforce and get those jobs that are out there. And we know that there are a lot of jobs that are being unfilled even right now as we speak, right? I mean, the economy is doing, I guess, relatively well, but there are a lot of jobs that go unfilled because there's a big skills gap, a skills gap that has to be decreased. And the only way to do that is for individuals to get post-secondary education. And a lot of times, you know what? Traditionally, it's been about getting that four-year degree, and or get that master's and doctorate or whatever the case may be, which is all good. But we've seen, a shift also in the economy where now, even if you have a post-secondary certificate, that will help you get a living wage job. And that's what makes a difference. So, but you still need to get that credential, even though it may be a short-term certificate that's 6 months or a year, that may be very helpful to getting that type of job that will give you that living wage job. But in order to do that, students need to go to college first, right? Get in, whatever it may be, wherever they may go, and then persist to actually complete that certificate or degree. But that is something that's shifting. But I still say, and we see a lot of things, and I know I watch TikTok and a lot of other places where students talk about, or young people are talking about, not putting so much value on education, saying, oh, I made $1 million last year on TikTok. Well, that's great. And that may have happened for that one individual, but we still know that the best route for individuals to have a living wage job and to be able to provide for their families is through a college education. And that's why it's so important, particularly for those students of color, for us to emphasize that. And again, it's not just going to happen with us here at the colleges and universities, but it's our communities, it's the churches, it's the schools, it's everybody coming together and emphasizing that this is an extremely important effort that we all have to undertake. And really, at the end of the day, Kamar, I think that I don't want to over dramatize this, but I think it's a crisis in the sense that it's a crisis that's brewing that we're kind of not looking at. But if 43% of individuals that are of color are currently in the K through 12 system, and if these individuals don't get the right education, we're going to end up in a situation where we're going to have individuals that are not going to have the skills necessary to get those jobs that will help them and ultimately will help the economy and help everyone in the U.S.
It's interesting. I think over the last couple conversations, I've talked to people in higher ed that were extremely passionate about increasing the enrollment of students of color. And I know it's kind of, lack of a better word, just wild. Like when you think about it, pre-pandemic trajectory was, going upward in a positive way. And then all of a sudden the pandemic comes and everyone is reconsidering higher ed, the value of higher ed, or how they want to do it. How much of a challenge, has that been, and is it demoralizing at all?
Well, we got to keep hope alive.
Right.
But at the same time, it can be on a day-to-day basis. It may be a little, can be demoralizing because we've seen, if you just look at the community college space across the country, we've seen a decrease in enrollment, and usually students of color are the ones that the majority of them will go to community colleges, right, throughout the country. It's a very accessible value for their money, right, very affordable. And so we've seen that decrease, and these are the individuals that probably need it the most, right? Need the education the most. But from day to day, yes, it can be a little bit demoralizing. It can bring you down a little bit, but then you got to keep that big goal in mind, right? Of what we're trying to do, what we're trying to achieve, and how many lives we want to touch and we want to transform. And it keeps you going. It keeps you going because we just got to work harder and smarter than we have in the past. It's something that has, it's been, like I said, a nationwide situation. And I still am a very, very big proponent of higher ed and the value of it. I think it's still there. I think the individuals that are doing well without it, all the power to them. That's great for them. But I don't really think that that's what the vast majority of people will be able to do without a college education. So we've got to keep working at it as much as possible and make people aware of what that value is, right? And try to connect with parents, family members to make sure that they're conveying that to their children as well.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's more different than anything, right? It's just change, right? We've got to adapt. I think Peter Drucker said, change or die. So I think it creates opportunities, right? To, get creative with curriculum and, how you offer, higher ed. But then I think, another one of the things that you recognize is and you talked about this a little bit earlier when you mentioned TikTok and the community, but, really the importance of engaging the community through social media, right? The students are, starting to be millennials, Generation Z.
Yes.
Talk to me a little bit about, how you think about the importance of engaging the community through social media.
I think that, like I mentioned, the pandemic kind of forced me into it, and also forced me into looking at not just what I'm doing, but what we're doing as an institution, what we're doing as a campus, and what we're doing in higher ed when it comes to this. And historically, higher ed, regardless of where you work in higher ed, has been kind of the ivory tower, right? We are, we're all knowing. We know all this. We are the ones that convey the knowledge to all of you. And I think that we need to break down that sense of an ivory tower and really come down to where we need to connect with people. And right now, the way to connect with people is through social media. So I think that whether you're using the TikTok, or using Instagram, using Twitter, using LinkedIn, whatever the case may be, that's the way that we can connect with individuals. And this is not just the young people. This is everybody in society now is using social media as a way to connect and to communicate and convey information. So we have to do this more and more every day. It's not something about like, this is a fad. It's not a fad. It may change. Maybe TikTok will be gone and something else will replace it, or Instagram will be gone in a few years and something else will replace it. But at the end of the day, it's not going away. It's something that we have to work with, and we have to feel that comfortable enough and be very organic in the way that we share information with our students, with the public, with our partners. Because a lot of things that I do are with our business partners in the community, industry partners, and things like that, so they understand the value of what we're providing and what we're providing, what we're doing and how we're working with our students. But in addition to that, how we convey that information to our students at a level that they get it, that they feel comfortable, that they feel engaged, that they feel like they're part of something. That's what we have to continue to work at. And it's kind of difficult because higher ed has been very stuffy for a long time, and we don't change as quickly as other industries do, right? So we need to do that more and more, and we need to have more leaders that feel that way, that feel comfortable enough, that they feel that this is the way to go, and that we need to continue to grow our social media presence. And again, it's not in our way, we can control what we do with that social media, but at the end of the day, it's about the messaging that students want to hear and how we can convey that information so that they can retain that information, they can actually use that information and feel part of what we are as a college, or if they go to university, wherever they go to higher ed, that they feel part of something. The sense of belonging is bigger than ever on our campuses, and it happens through, yes, personal engagement still, people to people, that's still happening. We love having our students on campus and doing activities, but in addition to that, that sense of belonging also comes from what messages we convey through social media and how we use social media to engage our students.
Awesome. I see that you definitely, you're willing to adapt. You've embraced, some of this new technological age. I'm curious, have you given any thought to what higher ed looks like, 5, 10 years from now, from delivery to engagement? Yeah, have you thought about that at all? And if so, I'd love for you to share some of that with the
Sure.
audience.
Oh, definitely. Well, I think delivery, as we have moved, especially because of the pandemic, moved more to virtual type of modalities, teaching modalities, I think that that will continue to be a trend. I think that I believe that we will still have brick and mortar colleges and universities, but more and more of our classes will be taught virtually or hybrid, which is a mix between, in face to face and virtually. I believe that in the next maybe 10 years, there probably no be more than 30% of our classes will be taught in person. And I'm not talking about just at this college. I'm talking about colleges in general across the country. I think that students see the convenience of having the mix between in person and face to face and virtual. And I think that obviously we serve the needs of our communities and our students. And so I think colleges and universities will move more towards having more virtual and hybrid types of classes to meet the needs. I think technology is going to be a big driver of this because I think the technology is going to get better. Right now, we're doing this on Zoom. I think that Zoom is just the beginning. I think that there will be other ways and other technologies that will come about that will make the virtual experience a lot closer to what the face-to-face experience is currently for students. And there's meta universities out there, and there's a lot of things that are happening that are showing us that it doesn't have to be just at the brick and mortar buildings, that we currently have, but it'll go beyond that. So that's, I think, one big significant change or shift. We've already seen a shift. Some people believe that this shift is temporary because of what we just went through the pandemic. I believe it is going to be a permanent shift that will continue to go towards the virtual side as technology becomes much more capable of providing better interactions between individuals, between the faculty and their students. I think the other thing that's going to happen is because of, and I kind of mentioned this before about just demographic shifts, right? I think that as we become a nation that is progressively more Black and brown, I think that will also have an impact on higher education. I think our higher education institutions also have to adapt to that and know that the needs of students, whatever the students are coming to them, they'll have to adapt to make sure that they meet the needs of those students that are coming to them. Because like I mentioned, if 43% of the students are K through 12, well, eventually that may be very close to what it may be if we can do it right, because again, students have to go to college, may be very similar to that just 10 or 20 years from now, 10 years from now, for sure, we'll see a very big demographic shift. But with those demographic shifts, there's differences in culture, there's differences in everything. So we have to be able to adjust to those kinds of changes. I think the other thing is just, we've been, I think that as a community college, as a college, a two-year college, a state college here in Florida, we're very nimble when it comes to the academic programs that we provide. So I think that's going to be another difference maker, is how quickly can colleges and universities adapt to the changing workforce and the needs of the industry. I think in the past, colleges and universities, higher ed in general, has been pretty slow moving when it comes to providing the degree programs that are necessary to meet the needs of employers and industry. I think that that's something that if colleges and universities don't shift and transform quickly enough, they may not be around. So I think that's going to be a very big change in the next few years. I think that's already happening right now, but it's going to continue to do it, because I think what's happening is in the whole space of higher ed, obviously finances are a big deal. Some colleges, universities just can't make it anymore. And a lot of that has to do because maybe what they're offering is no longer what people want. And they are not really being responsive to the demands of not just of obviously their students, but their students also are looking at what kinds of jobs are out there and what industry is looking for and what type of jobs are being offered. So that's going to continue to be a very big shift in higher ed, and it's going to be one of those things. If you don't change, you die. You know, that you had just mentioned, and it's also about the culture. Another Drucker quote. You know, what is it? Culture eats strategy for breakfast. Right. So I think you have to change. No matter how much strategy we have out there, and no matter how strategic we are, if we don't change the culture to adapt to what's happening in society and the economy, it's going to be not a very good thing for those institutions that can't do that. Luckily for us, in most community colleges, we adapt very quickly to different changes in the economy, and we can change curriculum pretty quickly as well. But even what we're doing now is not enough when it comes to what we're looking at in the next 10 years. I think there's going to be some seismic changes in the economy. I think there's going to have to be some seismic changes in higher ed in order to adapt to those changes as well.
Absolutely. An iceberg is in front of us. It can't go full speed ahead.
Right. It's cloudy, it's foggy, but we gotta, we don't exactly know where it is, but it is in front of us. But we don't know how far ahead it is, but it is definitely ahead of us. So we have to tread lightly, but yet go forward and really looking for opportunities to grow and change. I think that's the main key.
Absolutely. I can't think of a better place to end this than right here. Really appreciate you joining us. Awesome insight. Love the energy as well. Could you let our audience know where they can reach you? LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok?
I'm definitely on LinkedIn. So I'm Anthony Cruz, Dr. Anthony Cruz on LinkedIn, also on Instagram. Those are my main platforms that I use. I occasionally appear on TikTok, but I'm not a lot on TikTok. So I let our students, we do a lot of social media, but I let the students kind of talk to each other on TikTok. I think that's a better platform for them. But definitely, if you want to follow me on LinkedIn, follow me on Instagram, Dr. Anthony Cruz. Love to talk to anybody around the country. I have friends and colleagues all over the place. We share ideas and make sure that we make it a better place for all of us. Because at the end of the day, like I said, it's a village. It takes a village, and all of us are in it. So that's the only way we're going to move forward and have a better place to live and thrive in this country.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure to have you, my friend. Enjoy the weekend. Take care.
Thank you, Kumar. I really appreciate it. Have a great one.